Vallabha Girivardhara Yasoda Nandana Naranjana Yamuna Tiyara Banajari Yamuna Tiyara Banajari Jaya Rad Hamadava Kunja Vihari Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Vihari Gopi Jana Vallabha Girivardhari Jaya Gopi Jana Vallabha Girivardhari Yasoda Nandana Bhajana Ranjana Yamuna Tiyara Banajari Yamuna Tiyara Banajari Jaya Rad Amadava Kunja Vihari Jaya Amadava Kunja Vihari Gopi Jana Vallabha Girivardhari Jaya Gopi Vallabha Girivardhari Yasoda Nandana Bhajana Ranjana Yamuna Tiyara Banajari Yamuna Tiyara Banajari Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya So we will read here from the list of provinces in South Africa and states in America that are not influenced by the modes of material nature. Oh, there's none listed. I guess they're all influenced, right? So instead, we will read from the Transcendental Diary, Chapter 3, Fiji, May 2nd, 1976. The devotees chose this morning, a Sunday, for the found-laying ceremony of the new temple, which will also house both Radha and Krishna and Gauranga deities. Oh, that's too many. Although building work has already begun, Prabhupada dedicated the temple by throwing a few shovels of concrete into the half-completed foundations. A good-sized crowd, mainly Indians, but with a smattering of Fijians, looked on as he presided over a fire sacrifice amidst the excavation and construction. He awarded both Harinama and Brahman initiation to Dauji, one of his wives, and his brother. Karsangi. Henceforth, he said, you will be known as Vasudev Das, his wife Bhagavati, and brother Bhuvana Mohan Das. He praised the efforts of the Dauji and his family to begin the temple and gave a short speech based on the first 3 verses of Guru Astaka, explaining that temple worship was part of the process to end material suffering. To worship the deity very nicely, to decorate, to dress, to cleanse the temple, to offer nice foodstuff, distribute prasadam, these are the activities of the temple. Unfortunately, people are so much in ignorance that they have forgotten everything. They are living like cats and dogs, animals. So this is a great opportunity that you are going to open a nice temple here. So not only open a temple, but you take part yourself. He indicated his willingness to help them, that ultimately it was up to them to see that things here develop. My request is, I am traveling all over the world. It may not be possible for me to see you very frequently, but I expect to come again and again. But I entrust the matter to you all. I'll send help also as far as possible. Now you have to take care of your own business, this temple, and always remember that according to your capacity you can serve the Lord. He also provided the means for their constant engagement. We have got so many books, 400 pages each. If you simply finish this reading and hearing of these books, perhaps your whole lifetime will be engaged. He concluded by asking them to distribute this knowledge to everyone in the island of Fiji, regardless of material status. Prabhupada was well satisfied with the whole ceremony and the support shown by the local people. Everything has been done by Vasudeva Prabhu and his brothers, with practically no help from outside, save from Upendra. It is a very encouraging sign that things will continue on. So a new section begins with a comment on this. You see that Prabhupada was very interested to get temples going, and that's why he would come and lay the cornerstone. This one, the foundation had already started, but he put the dirt in there. He did the same in Vrindavan and the same in Juhu, and of course at the Temple of the Vedic Planetarium in Mayapur. I was there on March 2nd, 1972, and Prabhupada said that this is our most important project. He's brought all of his godbrothers together, and it was brilliant what he said. He says, now that we're all together, the disciples of Bhaktisiddhanta, he said, we'll stay together. And from this movement forward, instead of working as many splinter movements, we'll work as one movement, and we'll form a governing body like our spiritual master wanted. And they all went jai, but they didn't do it. Now Prabhupada's different. He would, if he was going to say yes, yes meant yes. He would if he wasn't ready to do something, he would say he was considering it. He wouldn't say yes and then not do it. It was very clear on the things that he decided he stuck with. But this shows how Prabhupada wanted to get us going, because, you know, the Americans dilly-dally and do things later, and the Indians and South Africans are worse. So we see that even though Prabhupada wasn't here, they worked very hard to get this temple open. Coming up on 40 years now, the anniversary, it was the 10-year anniversary of when Prabhupada came to visit. And so they opened it up with grand style. Were you here, Gopal Raj, for that? You were. Tell us something about when this temple opened. What? What's it? 1985. Yes, tell us something about it. You were here? Tell us your experience. Is there a microphone to give him there? Bring it fast. I'd like to hear something about how.
Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna.
I was amazed at that time to see people from all races coming together here. And Buthelezi was also there, and the mayor of Durban was also here. Many other dignitaries, and I think Rajbansi was also here. And everyone gave their views, and then
Buthelezi was here?
And Bhaktitirtha Swami, he gave a wonderful talk. And,
who did?
Bhaktitirtha Swami.
Oh.
And it really inspired all of us, where we can all get together. We're not these bodies, Quite a few other stories I can't remember, and there was a huge crowd here. It was full up, well decorated.
How many thousands came?
Oh, I wouldn't know because I was at the bottom there with that big, and there were many, many up here also. And Giriraj Swami was also here. Yeah, I've seen them. I was just new, just came in, and I was really amazed with this.
And that let everybody know that something was here. Let's ask Raghunath Bhatta to tell something. He was also here. No one else was here, right?
It's more or less the same things. The crowd was so much. The whole road or the freeway was packed with people. They couldn't get in here. That's how much of people were. There was many, many people. I came right to the door and I couldn't get in. That day I couldn't walk in here. It was just pushing and everybody was pushing. It was really an amazing experience because, Bhakti Tirtha Maharaj gave an amazing talk. I mean, there's a clip on it, you can watch it. But it was just so that people were shocked, Even Buthelezi was sitting next to him, was just looking at him like that, like with awe. The way he was speaking. And Professor Olivier was here also. Prabhupada from the University of Durban, Westfield, He was here also. And it was quite amazing, the spirit. But the interesting thing is that after that, the crowds, dwindled. And some people still have this thought that it's like the opening. I met people, they still have this thought that this is like the opening, that lots of people come here, so that's why they don't come. So, Anyway, it's quite an experience, But many things to say. We'll hear from you.
This just shows how it shows some of the things we were talking, like the last time I gave class, that in our mission with people, what we tried to do is just try to influence people. We don't glorify the different politicians. We note if there's something they do good, but we don't spend time trying to criticize them either. We try to get them to come and hear, because if somehow, like Mangosuthu Buthelezi was listening intently, if they hear something and take it in, then something will happen that they will be influenced. Even if we fail in our own life, if the fact that we are bringing a pure philosophy, when people see that, it will influence them to see that the best thing for themselves in this country is to act on the spiritual level and not divide ourselves up by races. And then they divide the races up. The whites, there's Afrikaners, and there's English, and there's Jewish, and maybe there's some Greeks, and then there's tribes of Africans, and there's different kinds of Indians, and they all think, they exclude themselves. The one said to Bhakti Chaitanya Swami, he says, well, that temple's for Hindi people. He said, with my red hair, do I look like a Hindi person to you? So it's not just for Hindi people. Anybody here not a Hindi person? You're not. Anyone else? Yes? So it doesn't matter where we're from, it matters what we do. It's like Prabhupada is lecturing on that verse. It's the 4th chapter, around 13th verse, Guna Karma Vibhagashaha, that they're be known by qualities and their actions. And so what's happening here, though, what Prabhupada shows, is it's important to open these temples, and he would lay the cornerstone so that people knew it. Just like in Mayapur, they brought the big Panchatattva there, they brought Nrsingadev there, and then they had they raised a flag for Lord Nityananda, and then they had the opening of the Pujari room, and next they're going to move Lord Nrsingadev, because this temple is like our joint venture temple. We all have our own temples, whether it's here or Santon or Laguna Beach or Fiji in this case. But that's the temple we all put together, because that will have such an impression, the whole world will watch it. But what Prabhupada's showing here too is that even if we open the temples, we don't stop the distribution of books. and he wanted it to be done to the local people. There's Indians in Fiji just like here, but the difference is that here the Indians are 2%, and in Fiji there's 52%. So if the Fijians are only 48%, well, we don't even need to do with them. They're less than half the population. But Prabhupada mentions that we should be going to local people. Just like the temple opens, that then people will see how valuable it is. But if we don't let them know how valuable these books are and how valuable the temple is, they won't take advantage of the books. You know, last week I had 200 Rand notes that I was selling for 10 Rand, and nobody bought any. I didn't advertise it, that's why. So nobody knew about it. Now it's a good deal, right? If I'm outside with a sign that says selling 200 Rand notes for 10 Rand, will people come? They will? Well, why didn't they come before? I didn't advertise it, right? So these books may be, and just because the chapter in Bhagavad Gita is called the most confidential knowledge, it doesn't mean we don't distribute the book. It's confidential just because people don't read it. But we carry on with opening the temple and do books at the same time to local people. So they're doing some books to local people, all races get them, or more go to Indians. There's a lot of Indians into more, but they still get the others, right? And it's tough here because you can't knock on doors because people are afraid of crime. And the economy, you know, in some places, it's like if they earn 400 Rand an hour, for them to part with a 200 Rand note is not much. Yeah, some of these places earn 200 to 400, maybe 500 Rand per hour as the minimum wage in that country. And those countries don't have crime because the people at the bottom are making enough money. And for them to part with the 200 Rand note is not a big deal. Whereas here it might be, right? What do they make at the ShopRite per hour? What is their weekly? The bottom wage. What's the minimum wage they can pay people here? Somebody must know. Gopal knows that. What's the bottom end that people make here? $200 Rand a day. So that's about 25 Rand an hour. They work 8 hours, 25 Rand an hour. So there's a big difference between 25 Rand and 250. You get 10 times as much. And if you're making 200 Rand and it costs 250 to live, you're behind. But if you're making 2,500, you have lots of extra. So it's harder for people to part with money. But if they do, it means they're really interested in the book. And that's why Prabhupada wants us to take money, because if we create enough interest in it, it's like when Vaisheshika distributes the books, he gets the people to take enough interest that they give him what's the equivalent of 400 Rand and apologize that they can only give a little. Because we've shown that the value is more than the cost. Just like if I show that 200 Rand notes are for sale for 10 Rand, when the value is higher than the cost, people will buy it. And that's what we have to show, that the value of this is higher than what the cost is. What's that? Yes. But if they show some value in the book, they'll give some money for it. It's a lot harder. They spend lots of money on things that are worth a lot less, don't they? They do spend money on things that are worth a lot less. So you have to give a change of value. If they feel this book is really going to help me, they will find the money to do it. They find the money for all kinds of things. What does a bottle of alcohol cost? Is what? No, that's why I'm saying it's not an easy thing. That's why if you do it, it's a big it's a big advantage. You think it's easier in other provinces? No, so if you can convince some too, it's a big accomplishment. That's what I was saying in the place. Yes. Yes. What is the unemployment rate here? %40, did you say? 30%. And think if it was the other way, if it was like 20% underemployment, it means that the shops would need 20% more people than they have. Put the microphone up so they.
He speaks a language
Haribo. Many times when I preach to the African, and tell them, you know what, there is a better place, you know, and you should be chanting this holy name. They would tell me, you know what, what's so better about that place? Because there's no drink there, there's no alcohol there, there's no cigarettes there. We're enjoying it here. If there's nothing, how can we enjoy there?
Wow.
So they said, well, I'm not going there. I'd rather stay here. I want my, what you call, palampala here. I want my jiggy here. Calling it jiggy, man. How can, I'm not interested in going there. So I tell them.
Can you imagine of all the things, it's like a cigarette.
Yeah.
You're going to you consider that a high point of enjoyment. Yeah. You're breathing in smoke into
and I
your
can't
lungs,
get hunger there.
and you consider this is
get
enjoyment,
nice and
right?
Up. Nothing of that sort. I can't get that grass. Nothing of that sort. Say no, we are enjoying it here, and then they.
Yes.
And they live for the day.
Just for today.
If you like, I've been paying them bonuses and holiday money, and I spoke to them, many people, and they tell me, this money they won't even take half of it home. They will finish it right here, because all thing is alcohol, good times. That's all. They live for the day. They're not interested in anything.
So somehow
else.
we have to create. You may not be successful every time, but if you can create a change in value, if people realize the spiritual side is more valuable than the cigarette and the alcohol, that these things actually are a detriment.
What's lacking
they
here?
wouldn't be good. They wouldn't be good if someone paid you to do it. If someone paid you 100 Rand to smoke a cigarette, would you smoke it? No, and they have to actually pay money for it, right? 10 minutes. Tell them a cigarette's 10 minutes. You know why? Every cigarette you smoke takes 10 minutes off your life.
Even it's going on in schools. The girls and boys, they're even taking alcohol to school. So the upbringing is wrong. There's lack of God consciousness in this country.
Yes.
Really. Yeah.
Well, we just have to keep presenting it, even if we only find a few people. Yes. The what? Assaulted. Wow. A comment? Yes?
I was going to say that in Africa, Harinam and Food for Life works much better. So I guess if book distribution is accompanied by Harinam, and we experience this, the books kind of go easier.
Yes. Yeah, even if you can't do it to everyone, you have to do it to some of them. There has to be some of it. Maybe it won't be like other places where, like Russia, they do a lot because people read a lot there. I don't think people, even devotees, reading is not a big thing in this country, is it? But that doesn't mean you can't find some people. You just have to think that anything you do find is a success because it's a smaller crowd. Well, we'll read a little more here. Relaxing in his room late in the evening, Prabhupada gave us some further insights into the activities of his godbrothers and what he feels constitutes success in preaching work. He began by offering a general criticism of the various non-Vaishnava gurus who have become so popular in the West. Analyzing their motivations, he said their idea is to somehow or other become popular without any regard for the real standards. If they can somehow attract attention, gather up some following, then they are considered gurus. And their real motivation is how to attract women and money. Because people are also impressed by a show of these material things, they accept them. But how to become a bona fide guru, Prabhupada told us, means to follow Lord Chaitanya's standard, Yare Deka Tare Kaha Krishna Upadesh. Otherwise, one is simply Goro, that's a cow. Prabhupada's feelings about the Mayavadis are well known, but there are variations of Vaishnavism that are not so clearly understood. Desiring to get some clarification on gurus who may not be so far removed from our lineage, Guru Kripa Maharaj cited the example in Shastra that if someone can induce others to chant Hare Krishna, they must be empowered and therefore qualified. He then asked about one Charanadas Babaji in Bengal, who in the early part of the century had induced people to chant a mantra that included the holy name. He built up a large following, but the mantra was his own invention and not strictly within parampara. Prabhupada acknowledged that the man had some credit, but he said that overall he was not successful because of his deviation. He introduced a new system of chanting, Nitai Gaur Radhe Shyam. So the Nitai Gaur chanting will have some effect in Kali Yuga. Although he was presenting pervertedly, the beginning was Nitai Gaur, so it would have some effect. He did not know actually Nitai Gaur from his words, it appears. He used to preach that Nitai is Radharani and Gaur is Krishna. This is Siddhanta Viruddha. But some way or other he was chanting Nitai Gaur. So some effects were there, just like sandalwood. You do not know which way better pulp comes out. But if you rub anyway, some pulp will come because it is sandalwood. So he had some effect of chanting Nitai Gaur. But later on they deteriorated because they did not know actually. Neither they were taught. Siddhanta Viruddha means it will deteriorate. It will not endure. Guru Kripa Maharaj then brought the conversation closer to know. He wanted to know about Srila Prabhupada's godbrothers because they have disciples. They are properly initiated and they give the Hare Krishna mantra. Prabhupada gave us a frank, unbiased analysis from his own broad perspective and successful experience. The thing is the spirit. Real service of preaching stopped. The formality is going on, but the real business. Chaitanya Mahaprabhu's movement means Amargaya Guru Haya Tara Desha. Become a guru and try to liberate everyone on this land. This is stopped. Do you follow? The formality is there, but the real life of Chaitanya Mahaprabhu's movement is preaching. Otherwise, why Chaitanya Mahaprabhu says Amargaya Guru Hana Tara E Desha? Tara means preaching. Yare Deka Tare Kaha Krishna Upadesh. Everyone to follow the orders of Lord Sri Krishna as they are given in Bhagavad Gita and Srimad Bhagavatam. And that is stopped. They are satisfied if they could construct one temple and bake some rice from the neighborhood. Sir, we have got some temple, that's all. They are spirited. The spirit of preaching forward. Papa tapi yata kila hari nama Udariya. The holy name delivers those who are lowly and wretched. This is stopped. So by Harinama, by chanting, by this way to live little peacefully in the temple and eat and sleep, that much they have got. But if that is the success, that success they have got. This was condemned by my Guru Maharaj, that to earn some money by showing a deity and eat and sleep, better you become a sweeper in the street and earn your honest livelihood. Many temples in Vrindavan have the same mentality, he said. They think of the operation of the temple as a business, and if people are coming and give something, this is their good income. According to the temple's popularity, they think this is our success. Therefore, they are deteriorating. This is not success. Success is his who is pushing forward the preaching method. That is his success. And if we think that by showing a temple deity and we get some money, rice and cloth, and just peacefully live here, don't bother about going to Fiji all over, that much success they have got. But this is not Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. Prachiviteya teyata nargatigarma pachara. What are they doing from this point? Lord Chaitanya said that it would be spread to every town and village throughout the whole world. What if someone takes a disciple? He may go to preach, but he's not preaching in the same exact spirit of his spiritual master, Guru Kripa wanted to know. Therefore, he is not to preach, the Prabhupada said. Chaitanya Mahaprabhu says, Janma sartakari kara para upakara. Go to do good to others. First of all, you do good to yourself. First of all, you become really preacher. Then go to preach. Chaitanya Mahaprabhu never sent neophyte to go to preach. For neophyte, the preaching is not their business. For neophyte, one should stick to the worship of deity in the temple. And those who have understood the philosophy, applied the philosophy in his life, he should go on preaching. Otherwise, he'll preach wrongly, like Charanadas Babaji, and it will stop. He wanted to preach, but he did not know how to preach. Therefore, his life, it is finished. So Chaitanya Mahaprabhu does not say like that you remain a rascal and go to preach. No, Janma Sartakari. Your first business is to make your life perfect, then go to preach. Perfect means you learn how to obey my orders. That is perfection. Amara Agyanaya. So if you are actually perfectly carrying out the orders of Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, then you are preaching. Otherwise you will do wrongly mislead. Don't do that. Anda yantar der upayanimana. If you remain blind, don't try to lead other blind men. That is misleading. First of all, open your eyes. Everything is there. Nobody can do anything whimsically. If you do whimsically, concertedly, that will be failure. It will not be effective. Let's see here. It was during a discussion a little later in the day, George Harrison and Ravi Shankar, the famous sitarists, were mentioned. Guru Kripa recalled how they had visited Srila Prabhupada during a visit. He had told them immediately, you are very famous, but what will you do? What will you be in your next life? What is your guarantee for the next life? You know, this shows things of how Prabhupada is straightforward and following the exact teaching. You know, as Guru Kripa said that other gurus wouldn't do that because they want to flatter them. But Prabhupada is interested in helping them because it's true. You know, where is George Harrison now? John Lennon? Both dead, right? They may be famous, but Prabhupada was asking, where will you be in the next life? John Lennon's wife, Yoko Ono, who split up the Beatles, she didn't like John Lennon listening to Prabhupada because they asked, will we be together in our next life? And Prabhupada says, I can't guarantee that. Someone else would guarantee, yes, you will be together. But Prabhupada wouldn't lie and flatter them. He would encourage them if they were doing something good, but he wouldn't lie to flatter them just to keep them interested. He would tell the truth. And you see something that, you know, some of Prabhupada's godbrothers would say things like, well, he should have followed this mat, or he is the younger member, and they come up with all kinds of conclusions. But the amazing thing is you see that how Lord Chaitanya he went to different places to preach. He walked all the way around India, spreading the holy name everywhere. And it's one thing if you have a guru that is Bhaktisiddhanta's guru, Gaurkishore Das Babaji. He was a Bhajananandi. He would stay and chant lots of rounds and wouldn't go out. But Bhaktisiddhanta was sent to this world with a mission to preach vigorously. He went all over India and he opened 64 mats, and he took, I think it was 50,000 disciples or 60,000, something like that he took. And he was preaching vigorously. So we see Prabhupada took up this mood. And he wanted them to form a governing body commission. And they didn't do it. Imagine if Prabhupada's disciples didn't do this. Well, Prabhupada said that, but he doesn't really mean that, or it's not important. Or the people who didn't listen to the instructions of the Guru would fall away. Like Hansaduta did in Germany. Prabhupada said, you should buy this castle. And Prithu tells the story how he went to Lady Rothschild and said, you're worth of lots of money. It's worth 3 million, but you can sell it to us for 1 million. She says, okay. And he went back to Hansaduta. He says, good news. We have 750,000 in the bank. He says, we can buy the $3 million building for 1 million. And it's the one Prabhupada wants. And he says, oh, Prabhupada doesn't understand. Right? It'd be like if Prabhupada told you, go out and buy those 200 Rand notes for 10 Rand. He says, oh, well, Prabhupada doesn't understand. If it's for sale for 1/3 the value, what was there he didn't understand? It was probably a good deal at 3 million. But how do you argue against that? How would you argue if someone said, oh, give me some money to buy the 200 Rand notes for 10 Rand? Would you say, oh, well, you don't understand? Or how could you think of something, especially when it's something so obvious and it's the spiritual master's instruction? And some people do this. They don't understand. My mother was Prabhupada's attorney, and she wrote the book trust. And Karandar left the movement. He came to my mother and said, I left the movement because I thought Prabhupada was wrong about not wanting to centralize everything. And my mother said, no, that was the correct way to do it. You should listen to your spiritual master and to the attorney because they both know more than you do. And that shut him up real quick. So we see in this that Bhaktisiddhanta, when Prabhupada walked into the Ultadanga temple in 1920, Bhaktisiddhanta was lecturing in Bengali. Shouldn't be surprising they were in Bengal, right? That would be the natural thing, wouldn't it? So Prabhupada came in, paid his obeisances. Before Prabhupada could even get up, Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Prabhupada says, you are an intelligent boy. You should spread this movement in the English language to the Western world. Is there much ambiguity? So in Prabhupada's Gadvada says, well, when Lord Chaitanya said the whole world, he meant India. So when Bhaktisiddhanta said the Western world, he must have meant like the western side of India, like Mumbai. Is that what he meant? Is that what Lord Chaitanya meant? And what does it sound like? Bhaktisiddhanta and Lord Chaitanya are on the same page, spreading to the whole. And he sent some of his disciples. He bankrolled them. He sent them with money to go open temples, but they came back. They gave some talks. The difference is that they tried to only deal with people who were somewhat of Hindus and just give them a nice talk, not try to move them forward. Prabhupada would get to people and accept even the lowest people, but try to get them to improve wherever they're at, whether they're already Hindus or whether they're just coming new. He would try to get them to actually take to the process of devotion, not just give a descriptive lecture, but try to actually engage people in devotion. And it's amazing. We see that I think some of the God brothers now have taken up some of this, but they're kind of riding on Prabhupada's wave. They do some of this, but none of it measures up to what ISKCON's done in the preaching. They don't have anything like we have in Mayapur, Vrindavan. temples in Delhi. There's about 14 of them, maybe more. And some of them get like over 25,000 people come every Sunday. And the same is true in Juhu. And, they have 3 temples in Pune. And there's a lot going on in the preaching work. So when I first went to Mayapur, I walked up to the yoga pit. And one of Prabhupada's godbrothers comes up to me and he says, "So how are Jayapataka Swami and Achutananda Swami?" I said, "They're good." He says, he kind of chuckles, he laughs. He says, "See, I know your devotees, all of them." I said, "Well, I'm there now." And I said, "And 50 are coming next week." He says, "We have 200. You'll never have that many." Now their amount is diminished. And in ISKCON Mayapur, there's more than 200. I don't have to count to make sure. If I get to exact number, I'll have to count. But to see whether there's more than 200, I don't have to count, right? If I have to see if there's more than 5,000, I might have to count. But not at 200. So then he says, your Swamiji, meaning Prabhupada, should not have gone to the West without the permission of the Smat. Prabhupada always says, we go in like a needle and come out like a plow. You start with something simple. That's like trying to go in like a plow and come out with what's he going to convince me that he shouldn't have gone? So I thought carefully, because what we should do is deal on principle. It's like I taught my children. First you take in the information, then you think about it, and then you give a conclusion. I did that when I told the story when my daughter and I and granddaughter got the 3-unit building in Long Beach. Because we got it with owner-occupied loan, we had to move one tenant out. So about a week after I moved in, I'm chanting, and Manga's upstairs, and it's only a 1-bedroom apartment, but the 4 people were down below screaming for the old tenants. I said, "They're not here, I moved them out." They said, "Well, they owe us money." I said, "They're not here." And they said, "Well, if you're hiding them, we're going to come back after you and your whole family." Now, you don't threaten something. If you have to do something, you do it. So I'm just kind of listening. Then the girl says, "Could you do me a favor and show me they're not there?" So I'm thinking that it's not me she's angry at. So I said, "Okay, here's the deal. Your 3 friends stay down below, and you come up, and I'll show you that they're not there." So I show that they're not there. And she says, "Well, thank you, they're showing they're not there." I said, "Here's a piece of friendly advice for you. First, you threaten me, and then you asked a favor. It might be smarter next time to ask people for favors before you threaten them instead of afterwards." She says, "Oh, I'm so sorry, what can I do?" I said, "Make sure anybody that knows those people knows they're not here." She said, "You got it." So we have to think about something carefully and try to get to the point. If I prove that she's angry, I can get mad. If I prove she's threatening, I can also threaten. Is that the point? The point is to let her know that they're not there and to show her they did damage, same people did. So with Prabhupada's godbrother, the point is to come up with the conclusion that Prabhupada does have the permission of the Smat. So I thought carefully and I said, "Who started this Smat?" He says, "My spiritual master, Srila Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Prabhupada." I said, "Oh, so he and the Mat are non-different?" He says, "Yes, but why?" Because now he sees I sort of sprung a trap, right? Because he made the point that Bhaktisiddhanta is non-different from the Mat. So I said, because I'm acting like an innocent child because I looked like a child. I said, because if he and the Mat are non-different, and he asked my spiritual master to go to the West, then he already has the permission of the Mat. I said, "Thank you so much for helping me clear this up." Now, he's the one that said Bhaktisiddhanta is non-different from the Mat. He can't start arguing against his own point, can he? Right? He can't turn, he just went jai, he can't argue. So the idea is to get to the point, to not argue with people. And I said to him, "Thank you so much for helping me clear this up," because the idea is not to create an argument or prove I know something that he doesn't. The point is to let him come up with the conclusion. If Bhaktisiddhanta asked that, right? So it's like if somebody comes in here and says that Cyril Ramaphosa sent me to the temple to give you a message. and he sent me here to help you out with something. I said, yeah, but did you get the government's permission? If the president of the country sent you, or the person that founded the Mott sent you, isn't that permission? So what I wanted to do is present the point in the general way. It's the point we're after. Just like with books, we don't argue over obscure points. We try to think how we can get people interested. Just like with the books, or whether it's politicians, we say, come and visit us. You see, because if they hear something, they'll see that there's something valuable there. And if they take some of that, they can do a lot of good with that. So it doesn't do us any good to argue over different points. Some people say the new system has problems, so apartheid is good. And the other people say that apartheid was so bad, anything after that is good. Well, neither thing is true. They both have faults to them. But the difference under apartheid movement, they were trying to jail us and throw us out, and that doesn't go on now. So for us, there are some special advantages. But the false dichotomy is to think that if the summer in Dubai is 50 degrees below, then the perfect weather must be in Murmansk. No, 50 above. In Murmansk, where it's 50 degrees below. So which is the perfect weather? 50 degrees below zero or 50 above? Which one is good? Which one? Which one? Neither one. This is what we call the false dichotomy. Because if you just argue, this place is so hot that it doesn't matter how cold it gets, or this place is so hot, it doesn't, and it's not true. You have to come up with something. It's like in the reading this morning that Madhurya Pikta, Prabhupada, is saying that no matter where you are, there's always room for more improvement. Was that today or yesterday? I guess there's room for improvement with me. But it's saying that wherever you're at, there's always room for improvement. There's always something more. There's always something more you can... You win? Yesterday. So that's the only thing. No matter what there is, there's always... It's better to say, you know, these things you've done are good. There's some things you might want to add to it. Because if we can't get someone's attention, if we start arguing with them, just like with this girl, if I proved that I was get angry, then she would prove she could get angry back. It's funny, there was when my daughter was staying, and there was, they had these units that were close to the beach that we could rent by the month. And the girl next door was making a lot of noise, so my daughter knocked on the door and says, can you be a little quieter? And I won't say the exact words, I'll just say the abbreviation. And the girl says to her, can you shut the F up? And my daughter says, yes, I can you? So you make the bold proposal just in a nice way, and you try to analyze all the information. You know, someone's seen that you considered something first. You know, somebody asks you, can you do this? And you say, well, tell me exactly what it is that that you want. And say, you know, I need to consider that. And then you come back with a qualified answer. Quite often we answer too quickly. It's like my father used to train me. What's Mickey Mouse, a cat or a dog? Quick. Is a cat or a dog? What is it? Which one? It's neither. And if you have to come up with an answer right away, they're both wrong. So what we do is we take in information and then we consider it. And that's why the books, quite often, you see they ask people questions. Are you from KwaZulu-Natal or are you visiting? You want to find something about them. You don't want to ramble off a bunch of things and find they only speak French. So we engage people, and by asking questions, we find out something. So shall we quit there? I didn't make a mistake and read the wrong one. Did I read the wrong verse in Gita? Or are they all correct verses, so there's no such thing? Yes. All right. Hare Krishna. What's that? See, it looks like Prabhupada took up Chaitanya's mission and Bhaktisiddhanta's more than others, right?